If you're looking for instant and cheap Madden Ultimate Team coins, make sure to check out mobilemaddencoins.com and use the discount code RBT for 10% off your purchase. Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Samuel Brown, aka RBT, coming at you with the Madden 17 player faces versus the Madden 16 player faces. You guys hit 1,000 likes on the Madden 17 versus real life faces video, and I said if I did hit 1,000 likes on that video, I'd come out with this one, so we are doing this one today. Obviously, I'm going to be comparing the Madden 17 faces versus the Madden 16 faces to see how the graphic improvements really are carrying over from Madden 16 into Madden 17. I'm not sure how many faces I'm going to actually be able to compare in this video. It's going to depend on how many good screenshots of faces I can find from Madden 16 and Madden 17. With that said, hopefully you enjoy. Drop a like if you do. Let's get into the video. So I ended up finding about 12 really good comparisons, and some of them are very interesting. Some of them you don't see much change, and some of them you see a really big change. And as you see on the screen, the left picture is going to be the Madden 17 screenshot, and the right is going to be the Madden 16 screenshot. And obviously, first we have Ben Roethlisberger, his face comparison from Madden 16 to Madden 17. And honestly, this is one of the ones you don't see much change. The only change I can really see, obviously the right picture is kind of blurry, but his eye color is more realistic in this year's game. But aside from that, man, when it comes to his actual face, aside from his eye color, I think that he looks a little bit more like himself in the right picture. Although the left picture does look pretty decent, you know, in comparing Big Ben to him in real life, but I still think the right picture looks a little bit better in comparison to his real life face. Maybe it just has something to do with the player on the left's facial expression, but I still think the player on the right looks a little bit more like Big Ben does in real life. And next we have Aaron Donald. The only difference I see from this year's game to last year's game is the fact that if you look at a picture of Aaron Donald and you look around his eyes, it looks like he has natural bags underneath his eyes, and they really bring that out in this year's game, as you see on the left. Both pictures aside from that look pretty much similar. Maybe the eyes are a little bit different, but I think both pictures look pretty much just like Aaron Donald, and also they bring back the mustache in this year's game, which makes it pretty realistic. But aside from the fact, I think all it is really is an improvement from last year's game. And now we have Tom Brady. And on the right, does that even hardly resemble Tom Brady? Even the player on the left doesn't look exactly like Tom Brady. A lot of people in the comments were wondering if this was Julian Edelman, but no, it is Tom Brady. And as much as that doesn't necessarily exactly resemble Tom Brady on the left, look at the picture on the right. What is that? What the heck is that? It seems like whether you hate him or you love him, Tom Brady is one of the most popular players in the NFL and one of the best players in the NFL. You can't argue that one way or the other, even if you hate him. And with that being the case, it seems like EA would do a little bit better job of completely replicating Tom Brady in Madden 17 or even in Madden 16. I mean, that's an awful job on the right. Maybe it's just a bad picture, but even with the picture on the left not looking exactly like Tom Brady, it's a huge improvement from last year's game. And next we have another quarterback in the NFL, and that is Cam Newton. The only bad thing about this comparison is the fact that the picture on the left, the only picture that is available of Cam Newton in Madden 17 so far, the visor makes his face kind of dark, so it's kind of hard to see his face clearly, and on the right there's more light around his face, but still, his face in the right looks a little bit more cartoony than it does in the left, so it's definitely a little bit of an improvement, although they both look just like Cam Newton. I can definitely tell from a lot of the differences in last year to this year's game is a lot of the faces look a lot more realistic as they look more cartoony in Madden 16, so maybe it's a difference in the engine or what, but definitely an improvement in Cam Newton. Although it's not that big of a difference, it is a difference. And next we have one of the biggest improvements in Madden 17's player faces. Who in God's name is that on the right? I honestly have no idea who that is. It's supposed to be Dante Hightower. On the left, it at least resembles Dante Hightower. I talked about him in my previous player face video. It's not the best looking replication of Dante Hightower, but there is a replication. On the right, I had no idea. Absolutely no idea who that fella is. I mean, it may be a nice man out on the street, but that's definitely not Dante Hightower. So this one is one of the biggest improvements in the player faces from Madden 16 going into Madden 17. Like, what in God's name was EA thinking? You could have came up with like a better generic face that's already in the game that looks more like Dante Hightower than that does. Like, if you don't believe that it's Dante Hightower, look at the player number. Look at the player number. They are both 54. Next, we have another very good improvement from Madden 16 going into Madden 17, and that is Stephen Gronkowski, the kicker for the New England Patriots. On the right, like I referred to earlier, like the cartoony look, he looks more cartoony on the right than he does the left. On the left, he actually looks like he has like a 5 o'clock shadow going. Just looks a lot more like Stephen Gronkowski does in real life. That, if you look at the left, that just looks like a real person. That honestly looks like a freaking real person. So the difference in him on the right to the left is a huge difference. And obviously not every single player in the NFL is going to have that big of a difference going from last year to this year's game, but that is a big improvement for a kicker nonetheless. And this is another picture that gets me thinking, like, I know EA hasn't really said anything about a new engine or anything when it comes to player creation or just graphics in general, or maybe they have and maybe I'm just an idiot and didn't see it. Pictures like this definitely does make me wonder what type of graphic improvements and what type of engine improvements they did get in the last year. I know FIFA 17 is going to a new engine. I can't think of it off the top of my head what engine it is, but it's supposed to be a big improvement. I wonder if that has anything to do with this. I don't know. And on to another player comparison in which I believe on the right looks more like a cartoon and on the left looks like a real freaking person. Obviously, this is Rob Gronkowski. And on the right, obviously in Madden 16, it does look like him. It looks just like him, but just something about his face looks way more realistic in Madden 17. And I did definitely expect them to have a big improvement on Rob Gronkowski's face because he is the cover athlete, so I know they took a lot of time into doing that. But even with that being the case, he's not the only player in Madden 17, as you've already seen, that looks more like a real person in real life. Like that 100% looks like a real person on the left. Makes me wonder what these player faces are going to look like in like 5 years. And once again, who on God's name is on the right? Because I know that's not JJ Watt. When I was looking up screenshots of JJ Watt, I was shocked. Absolutely shocked that he looked that bad in Madden 16. That's not JJ Watt. That just looked like just a regular white blank face. But on the left, that is in Madden 17, it looks pretty much like JJ Watt, like exactly like JJ Watt, and obviously it's not the best picture because I had to zoom in a lot because there's not many screenshots of players in Madden 17. But that improvement is really, really, really good. And I'm shocked, absolutely shocked, that EA had one of the best players in the NFL looking like that in Madden 16. And you see, they tried to pull the JJ Watt with the tape and everything on the right, but it looks like a paper plate on the right, honestly. And next we have Julio Jones, who I said is one of the best player face comparisons when you compare the players to real life. And I didn't really notice that his player in Madden 16 looked that good as well. Both these pictures look just like Julio Jones does in real life. Obviously, the quality is a little bit better in the left picture, but nonetheless, it looks just like Julio Jones in both pictures. Maybe a little bit more of an improvement, like I said. Looks a little bit more realistic on the left, but still looks like Julio in both pictures. Moving on to Luke Kuechly, and I believe they both look exactly the same when you compare him to Luke Kuechly in real life. But once again, the picture on the left looks a little bit more realistic than the player on the right. As I said, it could be the quality of the pictures, but I still think the picture on the right from Madden 16 looks a little bit more cartoony. And next, we have Odell Beckham Jr., and this one kind of surprises me because obviously on the right, Odell looks exactly like he does in real life, and obviously they had to do that last year with him being the cover athlete. But I really don't see much improvement from his face from last year to this year. If anything, I think the player on the right looks a little bit more like Odell does than he does on the left. It could just be the way his face is turned or the way he's looking. And the reason that surprises me is that in some of these pictures, there's such a big improvement in some of the players' faces from last year's game to this year's game, and yet you have players like this that don't really look like they did anything to their face except maybe make it look just a little bit more realistic. But still, I mean, regardless, it still looks just like Odell, just not much improvement. And last but not least, we have Richard Sherman. And Richard Sherman's another one that I don't see much improvement in. And I think a big reason being, like I've mentioned with some of the cover athletes and some of the previous cover athletes, they had to pretty much go all out the year that he was on the cover, which was Madden 15, I believe. So with that being the case, there's not really much they can do moving forward aside from apply some of the new things from their engine to the faces. But I think his nose on the left looks a little bit more fatter. And I talked about that in my other video as well. I don't think that nose resembles Richard Sherman's that much, so that's something I think they need to work on. But aside from that, I think it resembles Richard Sherman, but out of all the players, I do think they could definitely work on his face. With that said, guys, that is going to do it for this Madden 17 versus Madden 16 player face comparison. Let me know in the comment section below which player you think has the biggest improvement to their face from Madden 16 to Madden 17, which player you think looks the least like he does in real life, and which player do you think looks the most like he does in real life. And also let me know in the comment section below if I'm just being an idiot when it comes to thinking this year's game looks a little bit more realistic. I mean, obviously that should be the case, you know, there should be improvements, but I think it's a pretty big difference, and maybe more of a difference than we've seen in years past when it comes to just a 1 year difference in the game. But let me know if you think the same or if I'm just being dumb. But hopefully you guys did enjoy, and if you did, make sure to drop a like, and if we could hit 1,000 likes for future Madden 17 content, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm so pumped for Madden 17, ready to make a ton of videos, and hopefully you guys are ready, definitely ready for for the game to come out. Only about 20 days left to go, and it's going to be here before we know it. But with that said, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.